Whoops. Okay, my mic's on now. Now you should be able to hear me better. Okay, we're going to do, this one's a little sad. Well, a lot sad, actually. It's about this 16-year-old girl who they called Lisbeth. She was a cheerleader. She was popular. She was an all-around great kid. And she was murdered tragically. And I do mean tragically. Okay, so let's start off with how we get to this point. Her mom, I guess, was gone, and she was supposed to leave for school that morning. But apparently she was not feeling well, so she stayed home from school. Her mom had tried to call her, message her, and get in touch with her all day, and still did not, and was not able to do that. Now, this young girl had a boyfriend who had called her at 7 a.m. And at that time, she did not answer the phone. He called her again at like 11:15. And again, he did not answer her. She did not answer her phone or his text messages, which for him, that is very unheard of. Because for all of them, supposedly, she'd always answer her phone for her friends and her boyfriend, even if it wasn't specifically for her mom. Now, since her mom did not get a answer all day long, when she got home, she noticed that the front door was unlocked. And for her, that is unusual because they always kept the door locked. And so she said she started to call her daughter's name and no response. So she sat on her bed, and when she sat on her bed, she started calling her friends, her daughter's boyfriend, anybody that she could think of that would have her location, possibly know where she's at, and all of this stuff. Well, everybody had said that they haven't heard from her. So at this point, she starts to get worried, more worried than what she was before. And she walks into the bathroom, and she finds her 16-year-old daughter bludgeoned to death with a wound. At the time, she only saw one. And she knew she had been deceased for a long time. Now, when she calls 911, she's frantic, which any parent, I think, would be. And she gets to, she can't hardly speak. She's just all over the place. Well, when the police arrive, Lisbeth's boyfriend, his father, and her friends are already there. And they're all in tears because they have already discovered what has happened. Now, they start talking to this mom, and as they're talking to her mother, they discover that her house had been burglarized 2 weeks prior. Now, not just like things of value were taken. This was like inanimate objects, like a projector, just some little odd and end things. So the police start wondering, could this be the work of somebody coming back to finish the job previously, and she just happened to be home? Now, of course, back when they had found this, that the burglary that had happened previously, they didn't catch who burglarized this apartment the first time. And the mom had no idea who would have done this. Now, it keeps going. And they start talking to the mother, like I said. Well, the mom had mentioned that the boyfriend has had her location on her cell phone and vice versa. They have 360 or something like that where they know each other's locations. So the cop goes immediately outside to talk to the boyfriend. And he explains, yes, he tried to message her a couple of times that day with no response, but this was her last known location. And it ended up being at this one house that ended up being like abandoned, but it was up for sale. So they get the location and they head over there immediately because that's still showing the last known location where her phone was active. And while other detectives and stuff stay at this house with their mom. When they get there, there's some men's clothes hanging in the closet, but her phone is nowhere to be found, and neither is anybody else in the house. So, of course, they have to start doing more digging. They return back to the apartment and discover that she had been stabbed multiple times. And this girl, it was super sad. And then the perp ended up turning the shower on to wash away evidence. And then the upstairs neighbor, when they finally questioned her, they were told that around 10:30 that she heard a big bang, and then she heard another one, and she assumed it was something that her daughter had knocked over in her own apartment. Then she heard a shower. So now they're assuming that is around the time that Elizabeth actually was murdered. And she has a camera that is sticking up and facing her car off of her balcony. And when they do this, they look into this camera because she gives them the SD card, and they see this male running away from the direction of the apartment and jumping into a certain kind of car, a Ford Focus, and taking off real fast. Now, they don't know who this male is, but eventually they track the number due to they had asked the boyfriend and some of her friends to constantly text this phone number that was Elizabeth's. And they continued to do it like the police had asked them to do. Now, during the vigil, her boyfriend and one of her friends got texts back. And even one time her boyfriend called, a phone was answered. So they tracked this phone and this, to where this house was, or the SIMS card or whatever from the towers. And they end up finding this guy who lives with his sister, his brother, and his mom and his father. Now, he had given the SIMS card in one of his old phones to his little brother. So I'm assuming his little brother is the one that answered the phone, even though he said he didn't. And he was the one responding, even though he also said he wasn't the one that was doing that. Now, this guy, of course, denied everything, denied knowing who he was, or who this girl was, denied being there. I mean, he denied everything until he couldn't deny it. Now, he gave permission for the police to search his room. And while the police started their search, they decided they were going to take this man back to the police station to do this official interview. Now, as they're doing this interview, and he is denying because he does not hardly speak English, so they have to have a translator. And as he's denying this over and over again, he finally comes up with the story that he still didn't know this person. He found the phone on a hood of a car, and that's why he took off running, and that's why he was on, he left like he did. Now, here's where things start coming into full circle and into view. As the police are investigating this man, back at his home, where he is, or where the other detectives were actually actively searching his house, they find women's underwear underneath his pillow. And I'm talking a lot of them. And so the police start saying, okay, well, has he done this before? And they had already found out that at this point, that he has had he has had a burglary charge prior to this by a few years ago. So this has been, I guess, the first time he's been caught since then. Now, they don't know where all this women's underwear came from at the time. Now, they end up lifting up a vent in the floor. And in the vent of the floor, they find Lisbeth's wallet. It had her social security card. It had her license. It had, only stuff that was hers with her name on it, along with other evidence that they had found that was not even related to Lisbeth's case, but that proved that he had been at certain things that he should not have been at for a long time. And when they searched his closet, there was the exact same sweatshirt that he had wore when he took off from Lisbeth's house, as well as they finally found Lisbeth's phone itself. So he's just getting buried deeper and deeper and deeper in this hole. Now, they finally confront him and say, okay, we have the sweatshirt, the car, the video camera, we have her wallet, we have her phone, we have this, we have that, and we also want to know, why do you have all this women's underwear? And he said that he likes to smell them. Now, I know that's disgusting, and he said he steals them in order to smell them, and then he'll break into new homes or back into the same homes to get fresh underwear to smell. So he had, I guess, this fetish. And he said he did not know Lisbeth, but when he saw her, it was like he had to have her, pretty much. So he said that he finally started just admitting everything that he had done. He said that he had knocked on the door and asked to buy drugs. And she said that she, was on the phone, so she waved him in or something, and she was in the living room with him. Now, I do not understand why a 16-year-old child would let a man in, especially of his size and build, while they were home alone. Especially somebody that she did not know. But, anyway, he charmed his way in the house. Now, they had started talking, and he had asked her to go out with him. And of course she said no, because they are in a certain amount of age bracket. Plus, she has a boyfriend, and he was not her type, apparently. He said he became enraged and kind of blacked out. He don't know what happened from the time that she said no to the time that he realized that he had murdered her. He said that he just don't remember anything. Nothing at all. And so the police decide that they're going to take him back to the crime scene and see if that will jog his memory on why he did what he did. So he gets in the living room of the victim's house. And he says, yes, I broke into the house prior, because they had found now at his house all the stuff that was taken prior, 2 weeks prior to the stuff that was taken when they were burglarized before. So he had been in this apartment before. Now, he starts saying he still don't remember what happened. He also puts it out there that he felt sad at the time. At the time that they had taken him back, and that he felt remorse, and that's why he had to get it off his chest. Now, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole eventually, but it's sad. It seems like he was one of those men out there that could not take no for an answer, and if he couldn't have it, he was going to take it. And it was all an expense to this 16-year-old little girl. And I just feel very sorry for her mother, because you could see the pain. Oh, God. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm yawning so much. Anyway, you could see the pain in her eyes. And you could see hear it in her voice. And when the boyfriend was outside, you could tell he could hardly talk or walk. So he loved her so much. And I'm sure all her friends did as well. And this happened in, I'm trying to think of the actual, December 8th of 2023. And I just read over it the other day, and I'm just saying, like, that was the first time I really heard about it, and it broke my heart for this family. And I just hope that they find peace eventually, and they can come to terms with everything, and they have strength daily, because I know that this is never something that they're going to actually ever get over. But I hope that you all have a great day, and I will get back to you later. Thanks. Bye.